Areas of Ondo State have expressed satisfaction with the recent decision to replace the NDDC's Ondo State representative nominee. President Bola Tinubu had last week approved the immediate replacement of the NDDC's Ondo State representative nominee, Victor Ijaw, with a new representative nominee, Otito Atikashe. Some youths from Ijaw and SO, the local government areas of Ondo State, had protested against the appointment of Kolade Akijo into the board of the Niger Delta Development Commission. Let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our first guest of the day, who is the president of Ijaw Youth Council, Jonathan Lokwobiri, for discussion on the new Niger Delta minister and the challenges ahead. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the first guest of the day. I'm joined by the president of Ijaw Youth Council, Jonathan Lokwobiri, for discussion on the new Niger Delta minister and the challenges ahead. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Jonathan.
Thank you. Good evening.
Council always embroiled in one crisis or the other, but particularly leadership crisis. Why do you have factional president?
Please let me correct that wrong impression. There's no factional leadership in council. Let me liken this to a scenario where those who ran against President Tinubu will one day claim that they are also presidents of Nigeria. That's the credence you are giving to the question, by the question you are giving. There's no factional leadership. Leaders emerge through electoral process. And everything that led to my emergence as president of council were all documented, followed by TVC, Arise TV, and other major platforms. People can't just declare themselves their leaders when they didn't emerge from electoral processes. Remember, I was in this race 10 years ago, got elected, but because it was characterized by crisis, we let go, and then waited for 10 years. So every documentation, your agent in Bayelsa, your studio manager personally participated in the electoral process. If anybody has any contrary election as claimed by anybody, let them show it. The world would see. So there's no factional leadership in council. If anybody has any evidence to prove to you that an election took place anywhere else from which any other leaders emerged, please bring it before the world.
Okay, if you said there is no factional president, what was the election that was held where Dr. Theophilus Alaye emerged president and thereafter accused some aggrieved stakeholders of fanning the embers of the vision within the council within the emblem of the council?
I think that question would be better answered by him. Let him prove how he got elected. The only information available to the Ijaw public and Nigeria at large is that somebody somewhere, the outgone infamous leader, left a convention in a juxtaposed style, on his way running back to Port Harcourt in the middle of the night, entered an uncompleted filling station and handed a flag to somebody and said, "You are my successor." So it's not known to Ijaw nation. The INC, which is the parent body of the Ijaw nation, personally participated in this electoral process. The governor of Bayelsa participated. Former presidents of council are all in this. These were covered by major news platforms like the Arise TV network, your station TVC, and NTA, and a whole lot of that. So I cannot give credence to somebody who handed a flag, as if leaders emerged through the handing of a flag to somewhere inside an uncompleted filling station. So I won't give that credibility with attention. They are seeking attention. They are my brothers. They are my kinsmen. I agree. They need attention and relevance. Relevance, in my opinion, can be sought through means that are decent, not the desperation to desecrate this sacred organization that has defined our region over the years. So,
right, so
don't worry less about what they say.
So if you say that's the case, like I said earlier, this is not the first time the council will be embroiled in leadership crisis. It looks like something that moves from a regime to another. But as a stakeholder, I expect that you must have studied this pattern. What do you think is the root cause of this crisis that moves from one regime to another?
Well, first, let me state that every struggle is defined by the character of its leader. The man who holds the mantle of leadership defines whether he will toe the path of honor or dishonor. The present moment you see was a leader elected under a peaceful, transparent, and credible process in Opuruza, where our leader, Chief Governor Tumpolo, hosted this event personally in his own community, wherein this outgone leader emerged. But somehow he took the part of dishonor by first staging his own self-kidnap, made money out of it, and at the end of the day, he shows that he must anoint a candidate. I have no problem with him anointing a candidate to take over. But there are laid down procedures by our constitution as well as our operational conventions over the years. We didn't form the IYC, our leaders did. We are only beneficiaries as ardent followers of this process until we are grown. So those processes were followed, but when a leader, just like Nigeria, let me cite an example. If President Buhari shows a path where he wanted to hand over the leadership of this country without an election, there would have been chaos. This was the path my dear friend Peter Ibufa took. And there are videos, evidences from Arise TV and TVC wherein he absconded from a convention supposedly made for the election to take place, only for us to hear in the middle of the night that he has handed flag to somebody inside an uncompleted filling station in Ahoda. It's not known to us. We were not aware. Nobody else participated. All other candidates that ran the election, that bought form, got through the screening, campaigned vigorously, are still all alive. You can do this verification by yourselves. So, whatever they intend to achieve is best known to them. I won't hate them for it. It's their choice. But let me say this. Every revolutionary struggle or movements across the world have had its peak moments of united activity as well as valleys of internal debate and confusion. Unfortunately, ours, which is the most potent platform for leadership in the Niger Delta, is embroiled with this simply because of wrong leadership that we all elected. We're all responsible for it. And for me, I blame no one for it. But the fact is, we have chosen to move on. That's who we are. Thank you.
All right. So talking about moving on, I know the council is an embodiment of over 50 million Ijaw youths, and one would expect that with enormous challenges facing that region, unity should be sacrosanct, devoid of interest. So what do you think the council needs to do to unite the entire Niger Delta?
Well, as a leadership of NEC, we're doing everything to peacefully seek methods of reuniting our people, inspiring confidence among our people, and setting a new agenda for not just us, but also for the political class, because the expectations are high, and in a country where there's a huge vacuum between expectations and fulfillment, we need every hands on deck to pursue this noble goal. So we're doing everything within our past. But you can always understand that in every movement, there's always a recalcitrant few. Right. But that truly does not stop the larger population from moving on. In every society, we have recalcitrant few amongst us. And that's the experience we're having. But like I said, I wouldn't toe the path of violence in an attempt to establish my dominance or my authority. The reason is I got elected legitimately, and that legitimacy will drive every of our actions. Thank you.
So let's talk about developments in the Niger Delta. What do you consider the biggest challenge facing the region?
Well, first, individual greed and corruption has always been the greatest bane of not just the Niger Delta, but Nigeria as a whole. Beyond the corruption of those who have managed this ministry or agencies of development, let me also say this. There is a huge deceit from the part of federal government where promise of development and allocations or monetary provisions made to meet these expectations is totally antithetical. You said you want this ministry was established to meet the infrastructure deficit of this region. This was the idea behind the creation of this ministry. And then the budgetary provision made for this environment or this region is paltry compared to what infrastructural need that is expected from budgetary provision. So there's a huge effort that still needs to be put in place to ensure that there's promise and there's fulfillment. Democracy, in my opinion, must be transformed from this thin paperwork of promise to thick action based on performance. And that has to be done with the amount of resources also allocated for these purposes.
So, in other words, you think budgetary allocation is the most critical issue facing that region. Is that it?
Yes, but the will of politicians also must play that role in bringing promises to fulfillment.
All right. So a new Minister of Niger Delta Affairs is here. What do you think should be his focus? First,
the true mandate of this ministry as envisioned by late President Umaru Yar'Adua, who created or established this ministry on the 10th of September 2008, was first to meet the infrastructural development of this region, to tackle the environmental challenges that have characterized our agitations, and then to meet youth empowerment. These were the two cardinal goals behind the creation of this ministry. Unfortunately, none of them have been met even halfway. The minister today, Mr. Abubakar Momo, has a huge task. This task is not just the issues of poor infrastructure we're meeting today, but also meeting the social hopes of our people. There's so much distrust, especially from this ministry, more especially when it has become a hub of corruption for our leaders to share whatever little provisions made by federal government as budget for this region. This is after several years today, but there's no tangible project that you can ascribe to the success of the Niger Delta ministry. Whilst we may not kill our leaders for this failure, part of the reason is that there's so much lack of resources to meet because the difficulty in the environment in doing tangible projects is also made more a failure on account of the paltry budgetary provisions by the government of the Federation. So the minister has the difficulty of meeting or inspiring confidence in the public space. Also, having to deal with the issue of having adequate provision of budgetary allocation to this ministry to meet these key three cardinal objectives of this ministry for the region. So he has a huge task. We as leaders of this region, we have no choice but to work with him to inspire the public confidence, but he has the honus to show Niger Deltans that it would be different.
So talking about projects, with over 13,000 abandoned projects in that region, what do you think the new minister should do to check this? And sorry, apart from budget allocation, other stakeholders have talked about sourcing for funding.
Well, the IOCs that are development partners in this region, I think they lack the confidence in leaders who have managed these development agencies in our region. So a huge amount of money they ought to have been contributing to the developments through these agencies have still been held back. That is also a fact. So this minister first must collaborate well and show transparency in the conduct of his business as minister. Above all, what is most important, in my opinion, for our people is that it is not this school 6 classroom, bedroom, toiletries, and all of this stuff that a whole federal ministry is meant to address. That's not the problem of the Niger Delta. Those are things I do believe that state governments, local governments, and then the NDDC should be able to tackle. In my opinion, the East-West Road, which is a major economic line for our region, should be completely removed from the Ministry of Niger Delta and put under Federal Ministry of Works. You cannot allocate 40-something billion naira to a project that is over 500 billion. It will take several decades to achieve that. Though the past ministers of this ministry may not have done well by thinking that they must pride themselves with handling that project. That project is bigger than a ministry that barely has 100 billion allocated to it. So in my opinion, I'm using this medium to appeal to the president and the Minister of Works that project, especially the East-West Road project, be taken out of the Niger Delta ministry and be put under the Federal Ministry of Works. So it has that federal presence. You can imagine a situation where 260 billion was awarded on account of the last flood that ravaged the entire road. Up till this minute, even the damaged spots haven't been fixed. The question is, where is that money? This is the situation we're facing, and I do believe that we will probe into these provisions made that have had no impact on the lives of our people there.
So talking about the East-West Road, the minister has visited that project and has promised to relay his findings to the president. But talking about other projects, what other project do you consider dear to the people of Niger Delta that you will want the minister to urgently attend to?
In my opinion, in my considered opinion, projects that do not have a life-transforming effect on the lives of our people shouldn't be a priority. The first project the Niger Delta region needs most is fixing of that Niger Delta, the East-West Road. Beyond the East-West Road, because I do know that the Niger Delta Ministry has no capacity to undertake capital projects like the coastal rail line. If these two major projects are fixed for our region, economic activities will thrive by itself. And then state governments must have the sense of commitment to undertake in collaboration with federal government and perhaps key other development partners to undertake seaports. Our region is ripe for economic activities through the ports. That is the best way to engage and inspire economic activities in our region. Every other project this ministry is taking has almost zero impact. As much as I'm not an acute pessimist that we won't make progress, but the fact is it will take forever. By the quality of project they are doing, it will take forever to be noticed. And that is a fact.
So talking about oil theft and pipeline vandalism, which are still very rampant in the Niger Delta, who do you think should be blamed for this, and how will you advise the minister to approach this menace?
I think that requires a serious collaboration between agencies, different agencies of government, the military, and stakeholders like the IYC and other people within the region. The reason is there's a huge presence of high political and perhaps military officers who are involved in these bunkering activities. It is turning few people into billionaires, whilst the region is bleeding, as well as the environment, the impact on our environment is indescribable. So for us to undertake the issue of stopping oil theft, it must go beyond rhetorics. The president of this country must give a marching order to the Nigerian Navy to order military and paramilitary officials involved, especially with activities in the Niger Delta. You can see where military officers all across the country is struggling to be posted to the Niger Delta. Nothing else is inspiring that or motivating that. It's because the bunkering activities, either as security men aiding and abating these bunkering activities, as well as them sometimes officially or personally participating. Today, we have intelligence that over 300 and something points are still leaking, in spite of the efforts of Tantita and other people involved in this security of oil pipelines. A lot of the military is not cooperating. That is the intelligence we have from communities and stakeholders across the region. So the president must give a marching order that there has to be a joint effort by agencies and all partners, especially from those in our region, to undertake this onerous task of helping to stop this danger. The average life of Niger Deltans can almost be predicted because of the environmental hazard posed by actions of these oil bunkering activities in our region. While a few people are turning millionaires overnight, the health conditions of our people are depleting, the environment is bleeding, almost becoming inhabitable. So it should be a thing of major concern to all and sundry. This is a national chaos, in my opinion.
All right, so Mr. Jonathan, to add to that, and I know you're not hearing this for the first time, that Niger Delta youths are usually blamed as part of the problems in the region because they sometimes hinder execution of projects. As one of the youth leaders, how do you think this should be addressed?
Well, in every era, sometimes you have different elements who undertake certain actions to better their individual gains. But the fact is, we have a region to build. So my role as president of the Ijaw Youth Council worldwide is to continue to collaborate with our communities. That is why we have this spread across the entire region, working with our key leaders. You can see how I have taken time to visit almost every leaders from King Ateke to Asari to General Alali to Shoot Aside Tumpolo and everybody. The reason is not one person alone can do this. And for us to secure our environment, it will require a team of everybody playing its part, with government also sincerely playing its own role as supervisors. I don't want to believe that these are environmental assaults on account of these oil bunkering activities can successfully take place without some level of compromise from the military, because from every point you will move these your products you have leaked from would require you to pass through either a naval point or a military checkpoint, where sometimes they even subject our leaders to unnecessary torture. But how do all of these bunkering activities take place and successfully taken out of the shores of Nigeria to make the billions they make?
All right. So before I let you go, all right.
In my considered opinion, sincerity of purpose on the part of government, and this moment, I see a new beginning, especially with the new commitment I'm seeing from the Minister of Niger Delta, from the Minister of Petroleum Oil, from the Minister of Gas, and other partners. I want to see this same effort from the Minister of the Blue Economy. You can imagine when Tumpolo undertook the project of Nimasa security. You can attest to the fact that the revenue of Nimasa jumped from almost an average to a huge profit that the country benefited. But politics crept in, and some of those individual efforts of our leaders who are keenly working hard to ensure that our environment is secured, people and business activities will take place without people's life being endangered, were completely taken off on account of Nigerian politics. So I do think that key leaders who are genuine in their efforts be engaged in the next journey ahead.
All right. So before I let you go, let's talk about another fundamental issue in that region. Many have called for the scrap of the amnesty program. What's your own position on this?
Let me tell the world clearly that that program cannot be scrapped. Ask me how and why. When President Yar'Adua considered that amnesty program, that program had about 6 cardinal pillars, among which 6 mega cities were supposed to be built. The only thing that the amnesty program has undertaken was the disarmament, the demobilization, and just a paltry part of the reintegration process. This 65,000 naira they are paying to people that appears as if they are paying Niger Delta people money was only a feeding money for agitators who enlisted under this program. It wasn't supposed to be a program of pride to a country. Today, the inflation Nigeria witnesses today, 65,000 naira today, in terms of the value of it today, is only perhaps around 18,000 naira by today's value. So, if a government has not done any of the major tasks that that program was created for, and you are considering winding up the program, is sometimes unthinkable for me. For anybody who thinks that you can wind down a program whose aim hasn't been achieved is only mischievous. And we won't let that happen. As Niger Deltas, we won't let that happen.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I've been speaking with Jonathan Lokmobiri, President of Ijaw Youth Council, and tonight we discussed the new Niger Delta Minister and the challenges ahead and other issues. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our second guest of the day, who is the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning in Zamfara State, Abdulmalik Abubakar Gajam. Stay with us.
It's time for another insightful and exciting experience. TVC Communications announces a call for entries for the 2023 Female Senior Secondary School Debate Championship. To qualify, write an essay of not more than 400 words on the topic, "Is social media doing more harm than good?" Articulate your position on this subject and send in your entry to corporate communications at tvccommunications.tv. Deadline, September 10th, 2023. Join us as we embark on this journey to expose young minds to critical thinking together. This project is powered by the TVC Women's Network.
It's not your regular show. It's an online interactive session where we share my views on the everyday issues that cut across politics, security, health, current affairs, governance, and so much more. I am passionate about our country. I choose to support any conversation geared towards building a better Nigeria. I am Babajide Kolade Otutoju. Join me every Saturday on TVC News YouTube channel as I discuss Nigeria and the world at large on the show, Issues with Jide.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known, for when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the second guest of the day. I'm joined by the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning in Zamfara State, Abdulmalik Abubakar Gajam, for discussion on the first 100 days in the office of Governor Dauda Lawal. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Gajam.
Thank you.
Now, you're said to be the youngest commissioner in Zamfara State. How are you coping with politics and governance?
Well, let me first of all thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving me the opportunity to be here and also to thank you for having me. Well, politics and governance, especially in Zamfara State, I think are two different things, because the political game in Nigeria, especially in states like Zamfara, is completely different. It is chaotic, and then lack of actual civilized processes followed. But in governance in Zamfara State, I think this is the first time as a young person I am proud of my state. A state that generally is known in the indices of poor people, the challenges of insecurity, the display of ignorance by leadership in the past, but people voiced out their anger and they changed. They changed for good. So governance, I believe we are starting to see the light out of the tunnel in Zamfara State, because when we talk about governance, we are talking about following the due process. When we talk about governance, we talk about obeying law and order. When we talk about governance, we talk about leadership that understands the needs of its people and the cries out of its people, and a government that creates an enabling environment for everyone to thrive and then reduce equality between the poor people and the rich people, and a government that understands it is important to empower the younger generation with education, a government that understands enhancing the healthcare delivery system, a government that understands there is no society without security. So politics is behind us. The people of Zamfara State have asked for change, and they put their hands and casted for change. And then change has come to Zamfara State.
So talk to us about the first 100 days in office of Governor Dauda Lawal as the 5th democratically elected governor of Zamfara State.
So, as we all know, people from Zamfara State and Nigeria at large, the leadership in Zamfara State in the past was driven or centric on religious bigotry and willful display of ignorance and lack of processes. But now, Dr. Dauda Lawal, as the governor, in his first 100 days, he triggered a strategic, robust recovery plan. What do I mean by that? Well, a plan that makes sure the healthcare system is enhanced, the education system is enhanced, the infrastructural development is enhanced of the state and the security of the state. So when we talk about the social programs, which include the education sector and then the healthcare sector, on education, before Dr. Dauda Lawal, for three years, the past administration did not pay for WAEC tuition for our younger people from the secondary school to write their WAEC exams and go to the university for 3 years. That means 70,000 young people in Zamfara State have been left behind for 3 years without enrollment. Every single person that attended public school and finished his SS3 to go to university has been there for 3 years. When he came in, he understood the importance of education, and there is no society that can stand on its toes without educating its younger generation. So he paid that debt of over billions of naira. That is on education. And then secondly, he moved on to infrastructural development in the educational sector. He made sure he bring the partners and then the development funds at UBEC and TETFON and elsewhere to bring them to enhance the serenity and the environment of our schools, to build up primary schools. And that program is ongoing now. And when we talk about healthcare, this is something that he takes very seriously. We have started engaging the development partners in building and rehabilitating our primary healthcare delivery systems. And we have started bringing professionals to train our younger people that finishes their health technology. We have a health technology school and school of nursing in Zamfara State. So he has started energizing and putting in effort to making sure those younger people are enrolled. And as we speak now, the last executive council meeting we had, he made sure, he asked us, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, and then Ministry of Budget and Planning, to design a system on how to analyze and process the system to look at the feasibility of more employment in the sector and then the places where we need to enroll more people. And then when we talk about education, we talk about healthcare, that is a social program. And then the social program of palliative that the federal government is bringing now, before the federal government decided to give palliatives.
Let's take these issues one after the other. Let's start with security, which is probably the biggest challenge facing the state. What is the situation now compared to when Governor Lawal assumed office on May 29?
All right. Dr. Dauda Lawal, when he came, all the security agencies, the military, the police were complaining about the incentives their people get. Even the maintenance of their vehicles have been ignored by the state government. So he gave them all that. He made sure they have gotten all that they need in order to go and mobilize their people and make sure they fish out these criminals that are in our rural villages. And then the vulnerability of the road from Funtua to Zamfara State to Rusape, there is always kidnapping taking place. But he made sure he mobilized this past week. He mobilized the military, he mobilized the police with vehicles, bulletproof vehicles, to go and supervise those roads in order to protect the lives and properties of the people. And then secondly, he signed a bill, trust fund bill, police trust fund bill, in order to make sure all the equipment needed by the police or any paramilitary to pursue the agenda of securing Zamfara State is met. That is the second thing in this 100 days that he has done. And thirdly, he had engaged all the stakeholders and then asked them to recruit 300 youth, JTF, Zamfara State JTF, from across each local government, 300 youths, in order to fight these bandits, in order to have the number of manpower to fight this banditry that is going in Zamfara State.
So if you say that's the situation, why do you think major stakeholders in that state are asking the government declares a state of emergency in the state because of what they perceive as paralyzing vacuum of the highest level of leadership in that state?
Well, first of all, before asking of any person asking the government to declare a state of emergency for Zamfara State, we have to understand. Well, insecurity crisis is everywhere in the world, and it keeps on happening. Why does it happen in Zamfara State? That is what we have campaigned for, because of the ignorance of the government to empower the youth, to make sure people have better orientation through the education system, to cater for people, to fight for corruption, and to make sure there is productivity, especially in the agricultural sector. We have to make sure our people can go to farmland and produce, and that is the strategy that we are putting in place in order to fight this banditry that is happening. And when you look at it, we have been having success stories within the past 2 months of this new administration of Dr. Dauda Lawan. There have been killings of bandits in Bukuyum local government. There have been dismantling of their camps and their machineries in Shinkafi local government. A lot of people are giving credit to this administration. The main problem we are having is the problem of kidnapping through the Funtua to Zafa Road. And then His Excellency Dr. Dauda Lawan mobilized the security forces to patrol in order to secure that route and then protect our people from kidnapping. When we look at the past administration, there used to be a government in Zamfara State that takes advantage of this insecurity to extort and misappropriate funds. When we have leadership that communicates with these bandits on a daily basis, when we have leadership that gives asylum, a place to hide bandits in the name of having a truce with the bandits, that is something that we are not agreeing with in this new administration, and that is something that we are even investigating, because we realize these bandits, they can be dismantled because it is man-made. These people live in the rural areas and then try to attack people that are powerless without weapons. Instead of the government, the past government, to fight them back, they brought them in order to get resources through the processes. We do not understand that, but it's 100 days and we are working towards making Zamfara State a better place. When you ask people around Zamfara State, I guarantee you and I believe they have seen the change through the stoppage of kidnapping in these roads, through the signing of the police trust fund bill, through recruitment of youth to be trained by the military and the DSS in order to go and fight this banditry. So there is no reason to think that we are not on top of the matter. We are on top of the issue, and the governor said to the people of Nigeria that we are not going to negotiate with bandits. That is something we are not here to do.
Contradictory reports, I must say, because while you talk about improvement, others are saying it's getting worse, especially in areas like Bungudu local government, where bandits attacked a divisional police station, killed a policeman. Bandits also attacked Kwatakashi local government, or rather village, killing scores of people. And earlier, some other citizens were talking about killings in Boko village in Zumi local government area, several other attacks in Mada, Wonako in Guzo local governments, and daily attacks in Bukuyum and Anka local governments. But how is the administration striving to secure highways and villages, especially highways, bedeviled by banditry and kidnapping?
I'm glad you made mention of this local government in Bungudu local government, and Mada is a ward in Gusau local government. Due to the pursuit of this administration and killing of these bandits from their camps, all this local government you have mentioned, they are the access road and the routes of those bandits, because they do not have a stable place now in Zamfara State. So they keep on running and coming back. In Mada and Gusau and this Afe road that we are talking of, it's a passage road for them. So they would go and do their territory and then go back to their places. So the victims of there are getting that because this banditry has been there for over 10 years. We are here on 100 days. In Bukuim local government, we have done the due diligence. We have killed almost 100 bandits from that, and we have dismantled their camps. When you talk about Shinkafi local government, these are places where nobody could enter those places. These are places where they had huge camps and huge machineries in fighting of military and kidnapping people and taking goods and services there. So now we have dismantled that. We are in the process, because now a criminal without a home is a criminal running about the street. So we are getting there. We are getting there through this process of recruitment of these young people to fight the banditry, through mobilizing the military and the police by giving them the necessary equipment and incentives and support by the state government. We are getting there. It's just 100 days. It's just 100 days. So we are getting there. We have managed to dismantle some of their camps, and we are still fighting them, and we are not negotiating with them. This is something that everyone in Zamfara State agrees with, everyone in Zamfara State understands, because for over 10 years, they have been having truce and having an agreement with these bandits. But all that has done to Zamfara State is empower these bandits to acquire more weapons, to acquire more territories. But now we have a government that says, no, we do not negotiate with terrorists. We are solemnly behind the good people of Zamfara State, and we are determined to finish all of this. So in this, our 100 days, these are the 3 major steps that we have taken. And I guarantee you, next time I come back here, you will hear more success story, not even from me, but from the people of Zamfara State and from the people of Nigeria at large. And moving on to the 100 days, we have talked about security, we have talked about education, we have talked about healthcare. Now let's talk about restructuring. The reason why people of Zamfara State voted Dr. Dauda Lawan as their governor is because they were tired of the madness called leadership in Zamfara State. When he came in, he restructured the MDEs. Why? Because we had an over-bloated MDEs from 28 ministries to now 16 ministries. That shows you Dr. Dauda Lawan is ready to deliver service to the people. He does not care about the politics of it. All he cares about is to help his people. And from 48 permanent secretaries to 23. And from 35 directorates,
like I said earlier,
to one directorate.
One after the other. I'd like us to take these issues one after the other, and let's get back to education. You said you're talking about education. We're not talking about education. Let's get back to education. Zamfara is also one of the educationally disadvantaged states in Nigeria. And report has it that Governor Dauda Lawal was said to have solicited the help of TED Fund to reposition the education sector. What stage is that proposal, and how does this help in reducing the over 850,000 children out of school?
Well, so this is all, it takes us back to restructuring. Without proper restructuring, any serious government that comes into place, there is need for feasibility. All these statistics are out there. Now, what this government is doing, apart from coming to you back and sourcing for funding to build more classes that would accommodate these 100,000 plus younger people, boys and girls that are out of schools, to accommodate them in those schools, he has also showed the enthusiasm and the determination that this government is going to focus on education. We cannot allow our younger generation to be left behind in Nigeria, not even just in Nigeria. We want in the future our younger people to compete in the world on mathematics, on English. It starts with school infrastructure. That is the infrastructure he is focusing on. And then the feasibility on the manpower that is needed in order to enhance those studies, and then the curriculum to teach our students. So these are the things we are focusing on. We have paid for the WAEC. This administration paid for a WAEC debt of over $1 billion, a NECO debt of over $1 billion. When last 2-3 weeks, when our young people went to school to write their NECO exams, it was like Christmas. It was like Eid, because for 3-4 years, they have not experienced that. All their brothers and sisters for 3 years have been at home without having the opportunity to write those exams. So when you build classes, when you enhance the delivery system of curriculums, when you enhance the libraries, when you enhance the laboratories, and then when you enhance the transportation and the feeding of these young people in a very comprehensive and coordinated manner, then you would have an education system that functions in the state.
Sadly, we're out of time, but in 30 seconds, 100 days and beyond for the administration, what should people of the state be expecting from the administration? In 30 seconds.
Like the Uber renewal. Okay, the Uber renewal that is taking place in Zamfara State, the capital of Zamfara State, Gusau, for the past 20 years, it has been dealt with like some mere local government. It is now, in this 100 days, there is 3.5 kilometer township road, restructuring of all the roundabouts in the state capital, and then roads that passes through the hospitals, through the Emir's Palace, through the Tankin Rua Road. This is ongoing. And in 20 days that they have started their work, if you have seen the improvement, even 2 days ago, His Excellency was going around the state capital to check those Uber renewal projects that are ongoing. The people of the state were so excited and happy because it's like a new era. As young people, we have been hearing about there would be a light at the end of the tunnel. I think we are witnessing that in this 100 days. So on Uber renewal, on infrastructure, he has touched that. On education, he has made improvement. On healthcare, he has made improvement. And on the restructuring, because without a formidable force and determined governance structure, there is little a government can achieve. So he is bringing sanity with the bills that he has signed, executive order of anti-corruption tribunal. You will look at those things and you would see an improvement coming to Zamfara State within this 100 days.
Sadly, we're out of time. Thank you so much. I've been speaking with the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning in Zamfara State, Abdul Malik Abubakar Gajam. Thank you for bringing us up to speed with Governor Dauda Lawal's 100 days in office. And we look forward to more success story. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Have a great weekend.
The new Happic sachets. It has a thick formula, so all you need is just one sachet for your toilet bowl. It gives 10 times better cleaning and big savings too.
Wow, Helen!
Sparkling clean toilet with Happic sachet.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Are you worried about the safety and security of your home at night? Do you wish to know when intruders come close to your home? Or do you want to protect what matters to your family from anywhere at any time? What if there was a convenient, affordable way to keep surveillance on your home without having to worry about wires, installations, or heavy light bills? Introducing the incredible Sidebulb HD Cam, the robotic 360-degree two-way torque camera with action tracking technology. Sidebulb is the ultimate solution for discreet and